Hello everyone, welcome to the live stream. Starting a bit late tonight, but yeah, I just wanted to do this live stream just to chill out with you guys. I've been playing Stellar Blade. I finally got a Steam Deck. I waited like years to get it, but I got a Steam Deck, and one of the first games I got is Stellar Blade, and I've just been playing that for the past 2 days now, and yeah, Stellar Blade is a pretty cool game. Very Souls-like. Um, it's kind of hard to get the movement and especially with the parries and the blocking down, but it's a pretty fun game. I'm having a great time playing it. Um, I think there was a Twitter post the other day saying that the game sold like I think it was like 3 million copies sold. It's a pretty good pretty amazing accomplishment. Um, but yeah, overall, having a great time with the game. Um, Probably gonna play a little bit after the stream. Actually, right now I'm just stuck at a freaking boss. Um, but um, but yeah, it's a really fun game. I think I forgot where I saw that post for the copies sold. But overall, everyone's loving the game. I've been seeing a lot of fan art, a lot of cosplay for it on Twitter, um, on PC for what I believe. So yeah, like right here, literally says. Let me turn the music down. Like, literally says Blade has sold over 3 million copies. I'm pretty sure this is just PC alone, because Blade came out last year exclusively for PS5. Overall, this is an amazing feat for a game. Um, but yeah, it's a really fun game. I'm really having a lot of fun with it. Um, but I wanted to watch today. There's two videos I wanted to watch today. The first one is about of course the mainstream media. They have a problem with Stellar Blade. Um, Let me know if you guys can hear me. I just want to make sure everything's working properly. But yeah, just wanted to dive into this video from Jay the Concept. I'll leave a link for the video if you guys want to check it out in the chat. Uh, Leave a link in there if you guys want to check it out. But makes a good video. Bring up some good points about what the Access Media is saying about Cellblade. Other people had some good videos on this too. Um, yeah, let's give this a watch.
Yo, what's good, people? I wanted to make a positive video today. All right, I'm a positive guy, so I like positive when it happens. I need to stop cussing at the beginning of the videos because YouTube don't like that. Either way it goes, y'all see what's on the screen. Stella Blade, pay attention to the language, people. Remember I told you this too? When every company has a successful hit or they want the perception of being successful, they'll put out a post like this, but pay attention to the wording. Stella Blade sold 3 million copies being on one system and no, 2 million copies on PlayStation, 1 million copies on PC.
Sorry, I didn't know my mic was muted. So it was 2 million on PlayStation, 1 million for PC. So yeah, because according to what he just showed. So I mean, 1 million on PC. That's still an amazing feat, especially that this game came out only a few days ago and it's already sold that many on PC. Still an amazing feat for a game. And I know a lot of you are saying 3 million is not a lot, but you gotta remember too. This game wasn't made in the same capacity in terms of the numbers, similar to something like a game from like these AAA studios here in the West. So overall, they made the money back with profit. This game has been highly successful. They've been having collaborations with Near Automata and I believe Nike. So overall, very successful game.
which is fucking ridiculous.
That was diabolical.
Why is this the case?
And I think another thing too, I like the camera angle here. I think another thing too about the 3 billion that they mentioned, like, because let's go back to that, because they said 3 million copies sold. If you guys remembered back when Assassin's Creed Shadows came out, um, they made a similar post saying 2 million, 2 million players. I think it was 2 or 3 million players currently playing, but it wasn't sales. It was just players playing. And the reason why I said it because I believe you could play this game on Ubisoft Plus, um, the Ubisoft Plus platform, where, where you don't have, you just make a subscription. You can play the game for as long as you want under that subscription. You can cancel anytime. So I believe I believe in a way, I think players are kind of seeing this as kind of like a jab to Ubisoft in a way.
Why is this the case? I'm gonna tell y'all something about Stellar Blade. I've been talking about this game for a year, so me and this game got history. And I'm talking about even before this game even came out. I was on board with the, I would say, I was preparing for the slander that this game was gonna get back when it first released, or back when it first got announced that it was gonna come out, because I already knew where it was coming from. But I was at a point to where I wasn't really talking about the shit I was talking about until Stellar Blade came along and people started talking about the character being a certain way, and then I just had enough. I was like, hold up a second, and pardon my French when I say this, but there were men talking about this, about Eve's character model being, I would say, a little bit uncomfortable for them.
I do think the character model was actually like.
Yeah, this clown. I think he referenced. Hold on, let's finish the clip.
In not a good way, because like with the camera angles chosen, it just felt like this game seems like a game that came out in like 002 in terms of its, you know, like character design. It's like a bit old and not flattering, I don't think, for a modern.
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Yeah, how can you say that as a guy? You see a beautiful woman on the screen, and I pardon my French when I say this, I'm not anti-you, but that seems a little gay. For guys to say this type of shit, and I'm seeing a lot of lefty soy boy dudes looking at Eve and basically be like, man, this makes me uncomfortable. How the fuck can a beautiful woman make you feel uncomfortable unless you're gay? How does that make you feel uncomfortable unless you're gay? I don't get it. But either way it goes, right? So I had to jump on the bandwagon right there and just shut that shit down, because I'm like, this is getting ridiculous. We got straight dudes coming out.
But yeah, that guy, he referenced because he was showing a picture of like acceptable females in gaming, and one of the females he mentioned wasn't even a female; it was a guy dressed as a dude from Watch Dogs 2, and already you already knew what type of time he was on. So it's people like that that are the reason why the gaming industry is like this today. Like, they don't want females to look like females; they want them to look like men, like built like men with these giant jaws and their married suits.
Saying that this shit makes you uncomfortable because, you know, your liberal, ugly, fat friends find this shit uncomfortable for them to look at, because it forces them to look at themselves in the mirror and say, shit, I gotta go to the gym. I don't play that shit. So yeah, Eve made a lot of bitches uncomfortable, a whole lot of people uncomfortable. So yeah, I'm happy that this shit is winning, but we're gonna talk about, this is a celebration today, and I'm dancing on, like I said in my Belgar video, I am basically gonna run a victory lap on people who are still salty about Stellar Blade's success. That's what this video is about. It's a very petty video, but it is what it is. We gotta have one of these every once in a while. To all the players around the world who have shown love for Stellar Blade, we extend our deepest gratitude. Thank you, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for giving us a baddie with substance, because the gameplay is cool. Everything is cool about the game. I mean, well, besides, it's debatable because, like, some people harp on the story. I get it. The story is a generic, I would say, sci-fi story, but it was doable enough for me. It was still interesting enough to where
I mean, I can't really judge the story yet, because I'm literally like still in the beginning of the game. I think I put in like what, like I think like 6 hours in it, 6-7 hours. So I'm still like in the beginning of it. So, but I like how it is so far. Like the enemies you face, the combat's pretty cool.
Still played it through in its entirety, and I played it through multiple times. Not just to stare at Eve. Ladies or appealing people would be highly successful. That's just not the case. You guys know that. Case in point, I'm gonna correlate this, because the second game that came out that was I would say controversial too as well, as the first Descendant. We're gonna keep it a buck. Stellar Blade has stayed in the cycle, the news cycle, for a year. And it's a single player, not RPG, it's a single player skill based game. That's very fucking rare for you to do, especially for a first party system game. She's beating out every single PlayStation exclusive that came out on the PlayStation 5, and she sold more on PC than every single PlayStation game getting ported to the PC. You can't make that up. There's something there. It's not just the goon. So I love it when I hear a lot of people being like, yo, this game is only successful because of the goon. No, you want it to be that reason. And if it is, to tell you the truth, so the fuck what? But that's not the case. The case is there's actual substance to the game. We got this post. I'm gonna come back to what I'm saying in a minute though, right? Remember, there is no agenda. I thought this was funny because he actually said exactly what I thought, right? This is the same people. PC Gamer has been losing their shit off of Stellar Blade's success. What are you doing in here? A stupid ass cat just snuck in the room and for no reason, so I gotta give her some love right quick. So yeah, PC Gamer has been absolutely losing their shit because Stellar Blade is successful, and the reason why is because of politics. It's literally because of politics. So you guys,
Gooner Game of the Year Stellar Blades mods are 41% smut, ensuring gamers will never see the light of heaven.
And degeneracy. They just don't support your quote unquote degeneracy and I would say morality system. That's all it is. But they're still they're worse. They're even worse when it comes to being degenerates than the people that they accuse of being degenerates. Isn't that funny? Because if you say this, right, Gooner Game of the Year, Stellar Blades, and for you to say that is a fucking bitch ass thing to say because you're being petty.
Yeah.
No, you're not being petty. You're being, I would say, emotional. You're being very emotional and you're being condescending. This is a very condescending thing to say. Gooner Game of the Year, Stellar Blades mods are 41% smut, ensuring gamers will never see the light of heaven. So you would think that this guy goes to church, right? You would think that he goes to church. You would think he goes to church, have a good morality system, doesn't do anything bad, such and such, right? These people never see the light of heaven. These people do this all the time when they try to make you seem like you have no morality. But in actuality, they contradict themselves every single time. If you notice, the world of Enzo, you know what Enzo is? It's basically The Sims, right? It's The Sims, but more realistic. But it's the Asian version of The Sims. So they're not going to have the shit that the American version will have in it in their game. So they're pretty pissed about this. Look at this. It's eerily heterosexual.
Eerily heterosexual. Like, this is the dumbest shit I ever seen. Eerily heterosexual. This is modern journalism in gaming, by the way. This is modern journalism in gaming. These are the people that write articles for gaming.
Eerily heterosexual. I never heard that terminology before in my life. How is something eerily heterosexual? How? That person
Like, that's like saying her nails are eerily red. Like, she eerily has hair.
Eerily has 2 ears. That
Exactly.
person eerily has 2 arms. That person eerily has 2 eyes. How is it eerie to be straight? And for the majority of the population to be straight. How is that eerie? Y'all are not the majority. I don't get that. But this is not the point. The point is, they came off like this, like they're a person who is, morally superior, yet they want, I would say, a lack of heterosexuality in the products that they want. Interesting. Don't fret. The distinct lack of gay, Zios, I don't know what the fuck that word is a known issue. So you want to see sexuality in a game when you basically call this game a gooner game. The direct correlation is mind-boggling.
Exactly.
And it doesn't make any sense, even to you. You already know this doesn't make sense. You don't care because you're trying to put some mention. This is straight up agenda. You talk about sexuality as it's a bad thing, gooner, right? Gooner means to fawn over, to be like, oh my God, this looks so incredible. I'm do such and such, right? Fantasy type shit. You're a gooner. So that means that in order for you to question the game's heterosexuality, which means that you have a fetish for the opposite of heterosexual relationships, means that you're not a gooner? Are you playing the game strictly for gay relationships? Like, what are you playing the game for? Is it a good game, as you would say to us, right?
It actually has a valid point because we all know it feels the opposite. It feels like, let's say if Eve was like built like a guy and she was like bisexual or lesbian, they would have been praised in this game. But for some reason, when it leans towards the other way, when it leans like, well, I would say the normal way, it's a problem, and it makes no fucking sense to me. And I heard there was another article. I actually want to see that video next. How a beautiful woman apparently leads to the unalivement of females, and it's just like it's the dumbest shit I ever heard.
Is the game good? Does that even matter to you? Or is it just eerily heterosexual and that's the only thing you're actually worried about? So you guys are full of shit. And Stella Blade exposed it. She exposed it heavily because you cannot deny success. You can't deny it. That's why Eve is the baddest bitch on the planet right now. She is. In gaming. She's the baddest bitch in gaming so far. And the mods are ridiculous. I'm glad they restored this shit too. I already knew they was gonna do this the first time that they announced the PC release. I'm like, watch they fix the hard R situation. They're gonna fix a lot of shit, especially the bunny suit. I haven't seen that yet, but I have seen my favorite. Can I get a goddamn? Holy shit. I'm going to. This shit right here, the director Stella Blade saying that he want more gameplay mods. I'm actually interested in that too as well. But people gotta get it out their system. You guys gotta remember, this game was slated to go on PC for a very long time. And people who are waiting for this gotta get it out let them get it out their system first. It's only been on PC for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Listen, get the goon out, right? And then we get back to business. So the mods is not just gonna stop here. The goon mods are gonna come out, of course, right? They gotta get it out. And then the gameplay mods is gonna start happening. Watch, you're gonna see some very interesting stuff happening with the modder community. But at first, they're going to get the goon out. Period. Get the goon out. People been waiting for this shit for a very long time. This outfit is crazy. So we celebrated Stella Blade tonight because I'm gonna show you what the numbers are on Steam because people hate when I do that shit. They like, Steam don't mean shit. Yes, it do. It just don't mean shit to you. This is diabolical. For a game that came out a year ago and people are...
Yeah, this game came out a year ago, and those are still really good numbers. Like, and I want you, and then you need to remember, PlayStation has remastered The Last of Us like, I think it's like more than 10 times at this point, and even for PC, like when they remastered the PC and bring it to PC, they still don't reach numbers like this. I think they just remastered The Last of Us Part 2 for PC, and their numbers, I don't even think they cracked 100K for PC.
Still double dipping.
2 scoops, please.
You know, remember what they say, it's so good, it's so nice you get it twice? Stella Blade is one of those games that can say that now. Because, and notice, this is a PlayStation exclusive. You want to see some other shit too? Because I'm going to correlate it. Because you guys don't understand how monumental this shit is right now. I'm not comparing Black Myth Wukong. I know you guys are going to ask that.
How come you're not comparing Black Myth Wukong? It's basically a PlayStation exclusive.
It's not. It came out at the same time on PC. So I'm not comparing both of those. And the buzz didn't have time to die down because the Black Myth Wukong introduced PC versions a year later. I don't think it'll be the same as Stella Blades. I don't. I'm just going to be honest with you. Black Myth Wukong came out the same day on PC than it did on PlayStation, so I don't consider that. Just like Helldivers 2. The games that you can compare it to is God of War Ragnarok, right? And this game is a AAA game on the main platform on PlayStation.
Yeah, so this is like, I think this is God of War Ragnarok. This was the recent God of War, and these are the numbers currently. I can't remember when this game released for PC. I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember when this game released for PC. Unless he's gonna talk about it. I can't remember when.
Right? God of War is a very popular franchise. 35,000 peak. 192,000. You want to see more? It's around the same range, isn't it? 30,000, 30,000. Now, granted, Neil Druckmann did remaster his...
Okay, so this is The Last of Us. That's The Last of Us Part 2, right? Yeah, so... Yeah. The game that killed the franchise. And they're still doing that stupid game. What's it called? Intergalactica? Like, that's a dumb name. What a stupid name for a game. I'm just gonna be honest.
His game's like 80,000 times, so there's that. But still, it's around the same range. This is all-time peak. All-time. And all of these had the same head start in the race a year later. And then their PC releases, right? 30,000, 30,000, 30,000. I got one more. Well, it's not a woman protagonist. I got you. I guess the woman bumped it up to 56,000, 20,000 more, right? The female...
Okay, so Horizon, I never played this game before, but I remember in the first game they actually made her attractive, the main character, and then in this game that's when they like gave her like a big ass head, like a big ass box head, similar to how they did Mary Jane in Spider Man 2. Um, Now the numbers are actually better than numbers are actually better than The Last of Us, and I think this game came out a while ago. Better numbers than The Last of Us.
Female aspect of it bumped it up higher than, oh wait, there is a woman in this. Maybe it's because it's political about the gay stuff, right? Horizon Zero Dawn had that, but that was DLC. This game shouts it from the mountaintops. But this is not a Gunner game, right? Okay, whatever. So yeah, you guys see the correlation. This game is destroying every single PlayStation exclusive that hits the market, so they can't ignore it anymore. But we're talking about people who say bullshit like this, right? Who says stuff like this? Stellar Blade, exciting combat. You can't lie about that. And a plethora of sexy costumes can't totally save Stellar Blade's middling story and occasionally questionable level design. Has anybody had a problem with Stellar Blade's level design? Listen, you're warranted. It's debatable with the story, absolutely. But to give it a 68, you give it a 6. This is a below average game then, to you. You gave this game that is.
So I believe IGN, when this game officially came out back on P5, I think IGN gave this like a 7. I think it was a 7, yeah. But they gave this game a 7. I think they gave the first Descendant like a 5.5 or something, and then they gave the Dragon Age Veilguard a 9. Like they gave that game a fucking 9. Can't make this shit up.
It's clearly selling like hotcakes. And to tell you the truth, you can't just use, oh, that's y'all only buying this game because it's a Gunner game. There's plenty of Gunner games out there. How come they're not as successful as Stellar Blade? It's because Stellar Blade actually has substance. It's sexy, yes, but it has substance with it. Why did people didn't buy The Last of Us Part 2? Why not? Hold up a second. Heterosexuality is eerie. Have you noticed the world of Enzo is eerily heterosexual, which means that you think that you're talking to people, you think you're talking to like a million people. You're saying this like people are just gonna be like, yeah, you're right. Nobody thinks like you. You're in the corner by yourself when you're saying shit like this.
It's just such a weird thing to say in an article for a game. Like it's just really weird. Like these people think that I mean nowadays, yeah, there is going to be a lot of people in the alphabet community in certain places you go, but now they're acting like it's required to be in entertainment now. And I believe there was a report a few years ago where they say like right now in terms of representation of them in modern entertainment, it's like an oversaturation. So it's already oversaturated. Like, come on, like and plus people are
Scenes, gay sex scenes, right? 30,000 people, and this is technically Gunner shit. Y'all champion games like this, games that actually show the sexual acts between the parties of people that you basically prop up, pro-gay, trans. I guarantee you, if Eve was trans, looking like that, y'all would have nothing to say because it represents y'all issues. And
oh, if Eve was trans, this game would have been they would have gave this game a 9. Already see it now, stunning and bold, especially from a Eastern developer, in Korea from the East. Oh man, they would have gave this game a fucking 9 out of 10.
And it represents y'all side. And anybody who had a problem with Eve being trans and dressing like the way that Eve does, and we're calling it Gunner, you would basically have the opposite opinion on what you have right now. This is why nobody trusts y'all. You understand that, right? Eve just exposed y'all entire demographic single-handedly. Eve, keep destroying this shit. Look at this. Look at this. Trans scars, sexy outfits, sexy protagonists. No.
Yeah, I remember when they first showed off the character customization for Dragon Age. Like there was this fucking weirdo online praising the game for fucking surgery scars for people who transition for a fucking medieval game, which made no fucking sense. And in the game dialogue, like talking about they go by certain pronouns. Like there was a scene where one of the characters was doing push-ups as an apology because they mispronounced someone's by their pronouns, and it Like this game deserved to fail. Like this game deserved to fail. Like as bad as Ubisoft is right now in terms of like the games they released for the past couple of years, EA Bioware with Dragon Age, this game deserved to fail. Like it deserved it. I'm sorry.
Look at this. Look at this. Trans scars, sexy outfits, sexy protagonists, no girl boss shit, no sex scenes. Oh yeah, let me tell y'all the difference. This game got sex scenes between straight and gay people, right? Sex scenes, weird, cringy talk, dialogue, monsters pinning your character up against the wall, growling at him and shit.
Are you trying to have sex with me? Wow, you know, in my daydreams, this is where you lean over me and slap the wall. Quick, think about us having sex.
I think this is supposed to be like some sort of guy. It looks like a guy. Actually, that'll be hilarious if I ever see anything like that.
What the hell is even that?
Weird shit, right? Sexual fantasies that liberals have, right? People prop this game up. Well, the media propped this game up like it was nothing, like it was nobody's business. This game has a sexy female character with sexy outfits, no sex scenes, no sexual innuendos, anything like that. This game is Gooner, and y'all shouldn't see the light of heaven. Make that shit make sense. Y'all can't. Y'all just expose yourself. And it's all because of the girl Eve. Let me show y'all one more time, and it's all a glory. Stay mad, bitch.
But yeah, I'm enjoying the game. By the way, that was a video from Jay the Concept. I left the link in the chat. Great video. Like I said before, I'm enjoying Style Blade on my Steam Deck. It's really fun. I hooked up my Steam Deck to the TV and I'm using my PlayStation controller to play it on. Really fun. I'm can't wait to get back on that in a little bit. But yeah, it just goes to show you, like, when you make a game for the gamers, you don't think about pushing some sort of propaganda or trying to preach to your audience. If you don't do that and you just make a good game for your customers, you're gonna have success. Now, I know this is gonna be it's crazy to say, but as bad as Dragon Age: The Veilguard was, I wouldn't say Mind's Eye is worse than them, in my personal opinion. Well, actually, here's the thing about Mind's Eye and Dragon Age. So the thing about Dragon Age, like, they are already in a tight spot because of Anthem, and this game was supposed to save them. Was the game finished? Yes, but the finished product was just not good. The thing about Mind's Eye is the game was just unfinished. And I heard, and people are saying that it is kind of similar to Cyberpunk, but the thing about those two companies is that Cyberpunk is already under an established studio that already had hits. Mind's Eye this is a brand new studio, like fresh, new, and this is their first game, and already it's like it's not even looking good for them. Like PlayStation already offer refunds to players. Some of their leads left the company. Like, it just doesn't look good for the company. The company might go under. We'll just have to wait and see. Like I said, Stellar Blade, good game. I heard they're doing a sequel game to it. Probably get that. Well, probably wait until they release it on PC to get it. But yeah, overall, having a lot of fun. I also want to get into another video. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I forgot the name of that video that I saw. I forgot the name of that video. There was a video I saw the other day. Let me see if I can search for it really quick. Don't forget to leave a like on the live. Really appreciate it. Let me just look for this video really quick because I wanted to talk about this. It has to do with the other topic about this video. See if I can look for it. I was watching it the other day and I just wanted to dissect it. It was a really interesting video. I think there was another video I wanted to see too. I believe it was this one. I believe it was this video. Let me see. Oh, okay, I found it. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's watch this one first, really quick. We watched a video from Monte the other day. He made a video about Stellar Blade also. I wanted to look at really quick. I thought it was pretty good.
I want to give my flowers to the creator, also director Kim Young-tae, and the whole team at Shift Up for creating Stellar Blade, a game that fans will actually enjoy. A practice that seems to be lost, not just with gaming, but entertainment overall. It was shocking to see the amount of hit pieces and smear campaigns levied at this game, trying to bury it from seeing any light of success, all because what?
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
It had an attractive, beautiful, sexy woman lead as the character, God forbid. Something that just makes these activist journalists go crazy whenever in the sight of. For some reason, they are only obsessed with trying to force feed the public a bunch of women that look like men, ugly ducks, and fat asses, and get aggravated when the fans reject them. It's like that scene in Mean Girls when the beautiful.
I forgot that. I forgot that scene. That I'm not the scene. I forgot about. I completely forgot about Conquered. Like, this was. I don't know what the hell these people were thinking with this one right here. This just made no fucking sense.
Fat asses and get aggravated when the fans reject them. It's like that scene in Mean Girls when the beautiful Gretchen Wiener keeps trying to make fetch happen.
That is so fetch. Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
Just insert fetch with fat and you'll see what I mean. Journalists making statements such as, this game will contribute to violence against women, causing them to unalive themselves. This game was made for people.
Yeah, like this 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 statement right here just made no fucking sense. Because no person would want to, like, first of all, there's people out there who want to kill themselves because of seeing a character like this. They need to go to Arkham Asylum. That's just my personal opinion. Because when you see, same thing with guys, when you see men and women who are in like a certain, like they're in peak shape of their life, that should be inspiring. That shouldn't be something you should envy or like feel threatened by. Like, it's insane to me. Like, you know how many people, like how many men idolize, one of the main reasons why so many men idolize characters like Goku and other characters in Dragon Ball Z is because of their motivation. Like, they love to train, they love to fight. You know, they're built. A lot of men go to the gym just to have that physique. It's inspiring. And I feel like if a woman sees something like this should be inspiring to them too. Like, this is just insane to me. And another thing too, like I think he explains it in this video, but the scan, like when they like mostly everyone's in shape in Asia, so
causing them to unalive themselves. This game was made for people who like to beat their wives.
What? Bro, what are you talking about?
yeah,
man?
that was a crazy ass statement. That was a crazy ass statement.
And that Eve as a character is setting unrealistic body standards. And I thought, yeah, maybe in the West or America where obesity is ubiquitous and rampant, but in the East, women actually make an effort to maintain some type of attractiveness. And on top of that, it came out that Eve was actually based on an actual South Korean model, which is why I conclude these complaints were made by a bunch of jealous and envious women and men who make it their life's work to pander to them, a dangerous duo that has led to the downfall of Western entertainment.
Exactly.
I truly believe Stellar Blade was the turning point to shift, no pun intended,
I understood that reference.
power out of these journalists' hands and mainstream outlets because they were really giving it their all to make sure this game would fail. And it showed if you just stick to your creative vision, stand firm, and remain like a rock or boulder not easily pushed, you will reap the rewards of your patience, stoicism, and being able to endure such attacks. I really believe the public or fans were growing tired of these activists having their way with different industries we find escapism in, and were waiting for someone to just not cave to the mob. And Stellar Blade seemed to be the game that did that. With a few mistakes made in the beginning, yes, however, they seem...
Yeah, Stellar Blade, I feel like First Ascendant to a degree also, especially when it came out. First Ascendant had a pretty strong launch when it came out. A lot of people were playing it. It's still pretty active now. Even though I did feel like it did kind of die out a little bit, but they do continue with the updates. So overall, in gaming, South Korea, China, Japan, they killed it in gaming in the last year. So overall, they're doing good.
To make up for that during the rest of the game's releases, which shows they're actually listening to the fans and not these journalists. Stellar Blade is like the cowboy that is the first one over the hill, then gets rocks and arrows flung at them, taking all the heat, but eventually gives way and clears a path for the rest to follow.
You know, he's actually like the cowboy. You know, he runs over the hill, and then, you know, the Indians hit him with his arrows, and then he comes back like, yo, it's a lot of them over there. And then we go over there and conquer.
I would say clearing the path for Black Myth Wukong to also not bend the knee to these activists. And I personally enjoy Stellar Blade. I bought a physical copy, still unopened, sealed up, and played the digital.
I would argue Black Myth Wukong was maybe a bit more successful than Stellar Blade. I mean, both of them were still successful in terms of players and revenue, but I think Black Myth Wukong was a bit more according to the numbers, especially like on Steam.
Digital version on PS5 streaming the whole game beaten twice. Many remember that DLC Raven boss challenge that took me forever to beat, but eventually did as well. And I am so happy and proud that even after a year and some change, it sold another 1 million copies for its PC release, with the curator himself celebrating the mods the fans are creating instead of acting like some tyrant.
Yeah, see, like, see, this is what we need, more creators like this who actually care and love the fans. Like, one thing about mods, so Nexus mods is like usually like where you get mods for like PC, free use mods. So apparently they're very left leaning, because I feel like because one thing I noticed too, and this has been reported a bunch of times, every time when someone makes like some sort of like something that just has like any right leaning or anything on there, you know, it gets taken down. And that's why Nexus Mod has been heavily criticized for that. Oh yeah, if you hear meowing, that's my cat in the background.
And those who dare to do so. And if anything, making a statement saying, I'm expecting more, almost issuing a challenge to do better than the original outfits of the game. Modders still need to ramp up their firepower a bit. It's still lacking. At this point, I think the official content still has the upper hand. Please, let this be a wake-up call to the industry, especially with Japanese creators who are falling down the trap of listening to journalists taking commands from activists who seek to destroy their properties, like Tekken 8 with this headline. Bandai Namco localization teams admit they ordered Japanese devs to censor their female... For these companies and in this industry to do this shit, and it just makes no sense to me.
And that's why I'm just really happy that AI is taking over for some of these positions. Um, I don't know why the hell some these devs. I think this is Capcom. I think this is Capcom. I don't know why they're listening to these localizers when it comes to like these female characters. Like it's really stupid. If they really had it their way, I don't know. I think Street Fighter's on the Capcom. They would have had freaking Chung Li look had the same build as a Ryu.
Cleavage is a bit too exposed, or the skirt is a bit too short.
You fucking people.
Or the Final
They
Fantasy
can't.
new director
They can't.
now dropping their Japanese art.
They can't separate fiction from reality. That's another issue with these. With especially here in the West, they just don't know the difference.
Audience to cater to the global audience, aka activists. Final Fantasy Rebirth director says Japanese devs now create with a global audience mind from the very start. Confirms games subjected to thorough ethical reviews tailored to different regions. And this is all just a way for activists to infiltrate so many fandoms built over decades to hijack them.
Give people the stuff you know they want, so you can inject things that maybe they aren't familiar with or maybe they don't know they want, but make them like that stuff.
And this is why I say Stellar Blade is important. It flies in the face of what these Eastern creators believe to be so true.
Oops, sorry.
Thinking, if we listen to journalists, that'll lead to success.
No.
But instead, the opposite proved to be true, and I praise Stellar Blade for making that clear. And with the added success of 1 million copies sold for PC, the director continues to celebrate buying his whole staff a bunch of Nintendo Switch 2s, thanking the fans constantly, taking pictures with Eve's model. Every continues to celebrate buying his whole staff.
This dude bought. How many is that? That's like, hold on. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's see, 10, 20, 40. Man, this dude. Huh. Well, then again, it's cheaper overseas, but still, it's a great boss right there.
A bunch of Nintendo Switch 2s, thanking the fans constantly, taking pictures with Eve's model. Everything fans love to see, which motivates us to support even more, building that tight relationship with the fan base. And I'll say again, thank you, Shift Up, for serving as a beacon of common sense.
And this isn't just this is not just in gaming. This should be like something for like business in general. Like if you go out and you like want to do something, make a product and sell it, like you should always treat the fans and customers with respect, you know, and always thank them. You should always thank them for your success. Always update them on like, let's say if you're trying to release another product or any updates on anything, you have to treat your fans and your customers with respect. Communicate with them. There's a lot of people, especially here in the West, that have an ego that they think, my product is the one-stop shop, so I don't have to answer to anyone. And that's what a lot of these AAA companies have become. Like, look at Ubisoft. Look at Ubisoft back in the early 2000s to 2010s to, like, look at them now. Ever since Ubisoft in the 2020s has just been terrible.
In our age of stupidity, doing dumb shit, and just giving us something fun and good old pure escapism, because that's all we ever asked for. Thank you. But that's all I have for this video. Tell me what you think in the comment section below.
Yeah, good video. Like I said, the part where that part in the article where the guys where they were saying, "Oh, this game will lead to men beating up their wives," that shit was wild. Like, these journalists will really say anything. Just for people not to purchase these games. Like, it's insane. That was an insane statement. But yeah. Now I want to get to this main video. But yeah, like I said, Stellar Blade, really enjoying it. Having a lot of fun. But next, I want to dive into this next topic right here. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm a big fan of the Netflix Daredevil series. When it first aired, I consider it as arguably one of the best television out there, period. I think it's one of the greatest superhero series out there, and I think it should be like an industry standard for how to do superhero series, especially for heroes that are like in that tone of setting. Like I guess besides Daredevil, the perfect example for here would be something like Batman. Um, the Daredevil series proves that it is possible to do a live action Batman series. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, I wanted to dive into this because for those of you who don't know, Daredevil Born Again came out this year on Disney Plus, and it literally destroyed the character of Daredevil. And this video explains it pretty well um, about how Disney ruined arguably one of the greatest depictions of a comic book character to television. So let's dive into it.
Daredevil Born Again showrunner compares the series to The Penguin. We're even more grounded, even less stylized, even more rooted in the here and now. I love Penguin. We're a little faster, meaner, cleaner in our storytelling.
The Netflix Daredevil show released in April 2015 and went on for 3 seasons of mostly consistent quality. Season 1 is an extremely well-made piece of art that blends masterful character work and theme with a mostly solid plot, creating
this bro,
like few
this show was just so amazing. And the thing is, I think it was my friend from high school, because the first season came out during my senior year in high school. And I remember my boy was telling me to watch this, and I was just like, I'll slightly give it a chance. Because during that time, I think during that time I was watching like Arrow and The Flash, and I was just tired of those shows. Because back then I was like, that was back when I cared about DC. Like, I just watched those shows because, there was nothing else to watch. So got a Netflix. I think I got a Netflix account. I started watching the first episode. Literally binged the entire season those 2 days. One of the best television I ever watched. After watching it, I was eager for the next season. Like, it was a really dope series. The best thing about the series is that they balanced not just the vigilante aspect, but the lawyer aspect. Like, the dialogue was so strong in this show.
Superhero shows can say they have. It took the generally pulpy and bombastic world of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and grounded it in the everyday world, showing us a version of this universe without gods and aliens and world-ending stakes. Season 2 is also pretty good, all things considered, even if it does falter in a few areas, but the stuff that...
Season 2 was good because I think they did a good job with the Punisher. I feel like what I didn't like about the series, that season, is because, right after the Punisher stuff, they introduced, the Hand, they brought in Elektra, and I feel like that was, I feel like it kind of distracted from like the main plot of the Punisher and stuff. I feel like the whole stuff with the Hand and Elektra, I feel like that should have been saved for like another season. That's just my personal opinion. And then again, the Defenders just ruined the entire arc. But overall, I enjoyed season 2 for what it was. I really enjoyed it. I just wish that they just didn't throw everything together, like everything in there like that, because they basically did both the Punisher and the Hand arcs like together. I'll arguably say like the first 6 episodes was primarily for the Punisher, and the other 6 was for like the Hand and Elektra.
Really works, and it delivers some of the best, most heart-wrenching, and thought-provoking pieces of storytelling you will ever see. A noticeable step down from the first season, but still knocks it out of the park. Defenders exist, but season 3 is really where this property shines. The showrunners looked back at their past installment.
So season 3, I feel like season 3 they're trying to go back with how they did the first season, which was a really good move in my opinion, very smart move. There was kind of a few issues I had, because they gave him he got his suit at the end of season 1. I didn't like how he didn't wear it in that season 3. I felt like that was like a missed opportunity. I feel like that would have been the perfect opportunity for them to introduce like the black suit. That's just my personal opinion. Bullseye was good. I feel like they did a good job with his character. The Kingpin was really vicious in this season. The FBI agent Nadeem, he was annoying it was kind of annoying in the beginning. I kind of didn't like how there was a lot of focus on his character, but at the same time, they did a good job, especially like with his arc towards the end. They did a really good job with his character. Really good writing. Um, I will say, well, I guess I'll put the first two seasons over this one. But I did enjoy. I still thought it was a great season.
Recognized what few mistakes they'd made and locked the fuck in to deliver one of the most hard-hitting, thematically rich stories I've seen come out of a comic book franchise. Every single one of the characters has such an incredible arc, and that goes especially for our main character, Matt. He goes from a broken, beaten man who's lost all faith in the world and in God and in himself, who pushes away everyone who cares about him and thinks the only way to redeem himself is to tarnish the very thing that makes him good, to a man who finally understands his place in this world and reignites the faith that started him on this journey in the first place. Season 3 of Daredevil is not just one of the best pieces of comic book media I've ever watched, it's also just one of the best shows I've watched in general. It is nearly perfect in almost every way, and it's something to be celebrated. Unfortunately for the fans, Daredevil and the other Netflix Defenders shows got the boot after its third season because Disney was opening up their own streaming service, and
This is what killed the MCU. Disney Plus killed the MCU. That's just my personal opinion.
they wanted to shift to distributing shows on their platform, produced by their studios. This was sad, of course, because the show definitely had a few threads left open-ended that could have, and definitely would have, been expanded upon in a fourth or even fifth season, most namely the cliffhanger right at the end teasing the return of Bullseye. But it was also, I'd argue, not the end of the world. Yes, they could have continued beyond season 3, but there wasn't really a need to. The Kingpin chapter of this story was finally closed, and Matt, Karen, and Foggy were all at a point, finally, where they could move forward together toward a bright new future. Season 3 was in a very unique position, not granted to most shows, where they didn't get the longevity they wanted, but they were still able to close things out in a satisfying and conclusive way. But this is Disney we're talking about, and they don't like endings. In December 2021, we got the first official return of two of the most prominent Daredevil characters, with Matt showing up to represent Peter in Spider-Man No Way Home, and Kingpin making his grand debut in Hawkeye, looking rather fashionable if I do say so myself. Pretty soon after this,
Okay, so the introduction to Daredevil in Spider-Man No Way Home, I thought it was okay. Because I felt like it made sense. You know, you technically needed a lawyer, even though I still think the plot for No Way Home was fucking stupid, but I thought it was good. I thought it was a great way to introduce the character in there. Kingpin and Hawkeye, well, that's where it began, like how they ruined Kingpin's character, in my opinion. That was just really stupid. I feel like they should have just saved his character for something grander, something bigger. Because I consider Kingpin as one of the best villains. Both Daredevil and Kingpin are arguably one of the best characters in this entire universe in terms of TV and film.
Reports started coming in about a Daredevil revival series, and in July of 2022, we finally got the official announcement for an 18-episode sequel series called Daredevil Born Again, based on the name of an iconic comic storyline, which a lot of fans found.
And mind you, this storyline was technically adapted in season 3 of Daredevil, so I thought the name of the show was kind of stupid. Because I guess everyone thought, because I thought too, they like, so it was kind of weird why they would go that route. So.
Found particularly interesting since that comic was already adapted in season 3. Well, I guess the title is just a reference to the fact that the Daredevil IP is born again, and I'm sure that'll turn out great. Then in late 2023, during the SAG-AFTRA strikes that were happening that year, the higher-ups at Marvel took one look at what had been filmed for the show so far and decided it wasn't working, deciding to fire basically all the...
And that was a smart move. Because the fact that you're telling me that it was just so bad, and mind you, they had bad projects after bad projects on Disney Plus, that they were just like, yeah, we gotta put this shit in the dumpster. Like they fired the writers, they fired the showrunners, and they just brought in new people. And I don't fucking blame them for doing that.
the current staff and start fresh with a new creative direction. The only problem is they'd already filmed 6 episodes and it cost a lot of time and money to make them, so they didn't want to scrap them entirely. It's also pretty apparent, for a number of reasons we'll get to in a minute, that whatever this pre-creative overhaul version of Born Again was going to look like, it wouldn't have been connected to the Netflix Daredevil.
This episode, if for those of you who watch it of Born Again, this thing was so insufferable to watch. I really wanted Daredevil to like go in this room and just fuck this dude up. Because that's how annoying this dude was.
Show. People like to act like just because the Netflix shows were theoretically meant to take place in the MCU when they came out, and even occasionally reference them, that means they were always meant to be canon. Completely ignoring shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was also coming out around the same time, and also clearly meant to be placed in the world of the MCU, but which has been virtually decanonized by all the Disney Plus shows that came later, and is largely ignored as a thing that happened. But it did happen, and you don't get to just pretend it didn't, Marvel.
Moist.
Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is a show that came out recently, and I actually watched it. It's
bad. It's not good. It's not a good series. Like, let's forget about the story for a second. Like, just the animation alone is uninteresting itself. Like, you gotta remember, Disney is a billion-dollar corporation, multi-billion-dollar corporation.
A show,
And
but it's one that I like to
look at this animation. It's not appealing. And this is why I always give DC its dues, because when it comes to animation, DC has always held it down.
point to anytime people say the Netflix show was always considered canon just because it vaguely referenced the Battle of New York occasionally. That show is explicitly not set in the MCU, and yet it references things like the Avengers first banding together to stop an alien invasion. It even mentions things like the Sokovia Accords, the airport fight, even the fact that Captain America went on the run.
The passage of the Sokovia Accords has created dissent in the Avengers ranks.
And I understand that Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is much more definitively not MCU canon compared to Daredevil, but my point is, just because a show references events that happen similarly to the MCU timeline, that doesn't by itself mean it's connected. And I have a plethora of examples that lead me to the conclusion that the original version of Born Again was being written with the idea in mind that it wasn't connected to the original show. Hawkeye and Echo are both shows that have a lot of inconsistencies with how certain things are depicted in the original series, from small things like Kingpin being strong enough to rip a car door off its hinges and survive.
I mean, he can, but it's just that in the original Daredevil series, they just made him too grounded. They went a bit more realism on that, because the only supernatural thing in Daredevil was his powers. Everything else was very grounded, which what made the show work. It was a good aspect on the show. They just made Kingpin too grounded.
Being hit by a car and flung through a glass window, to the entirety of Maya's existence and her apparent status as Fisk's surrogate daughter since...
This character mind you, this Maya, this girl's supposed to be Echo. This is not Echo in the comics. I don't know what the fuck they did with this character. Like, this show, I literally watched like the first 5 minutes of the show and I just turned it off. Because in the comics, like, she's deaf, but she can read lips, and she's an assassin. In the show, they went very, very woke on this show. Like, she's deaf, she's an amputee. She's a female amputee, but apparently she can toss guys twice her size across the room, which is very interesting.
2008. First of all, that doesn't even fit Fisk's timeline, since it's strongly implied by season 1 of Daredevil that he spent much of his adult life in Asia selling spices to gain his wealth, which is how he knows Chinese and Japanese well enough to communicate with Gao and understand Nobu, and that he didn't start making a power play in New York until pretty shortly before the show started in the mid-2010s, so he wouldn't have even been around in 2008 to run the criminal operation her dad worked for. But even putting that to one side, the very existence of Maya is just something that was never a thing in the Netflix
shows were a major flop. I don't think any of these shows were successful.
than Vanessa, who he cares about. I mean, part of why he was even drawn to Vanessa was because of how lonely he felt, how he spent so long in total isolation until he found a woman he could share his dreams with. But apparently this entire time he had a little girl who looked up to him like an uncle. He even picked her up from school and bought ice cream for her on a seemingly regular basis. And then of course there's all the discrepancies to do with the fact that Kingpin is out of jail somehow and seemingly owns the police again. But that's all stuff we're gonna get to when we actually start talking about the show proper. But I think the biggest giveaway that these versions of Daredevil and Kingpin weren't initially meant to be the same characters as before is in the scene where he shows Maya the hammer he used to kill his father, and it's not the same hammer. Like, not even the same type. We've seen the one he used, and it was just a normal hammer. It wouldn't have even been that hard to get another one. Like, you could just find one of those at Dollar General for, what, like $2? But I think this was an intentional move on the part of the people who made Echo. They chose to make it a different hammer to telegraph the fact that this is a different continuity. Yes, the backstory for Kingpin we were given in Daredevil Season 1 may have happened in a similar way, but they're not exactly the same. Because again, you can reference events that were shown elsewhere, but not actually mean to connect them canonically. I didn't want to start this review off by going on a whole tangent about two shows that are not, in fact, Daredevil Born Again, but I felt it was necessary to lay out the context here. It's clear to me that the original version of this show was being made under the assumption that the Netflix series wasn't canon, and the other relevant shows acquiesced accordingly. But when they did the overhaul, they changed their minds on that, and they even filmed an entire new first episode to serve as a bridge between this show and what came before, and we'll see how well they did.
The cinematography in this first episode of Born Again is just so fucking bad. It's so bad. And it makes... I just don't understand why, like, what happened to the original people who worked on this series.
That, but it also resulted in one of the most confusing and messy seasons of television I've ever had the displeasure of watching, with duct tape and a prayer. A fun example of what I mean is, there's a scene in episode 4 that was clearly shot before the overhaul, and people will swear it's not because apparently John Barenthal said he wasn't part of the show until after the rewrites, but I call baloney on that. Because if you actually go back far enough in the timeline of events, it was already announced that he'd be returning as the Punisher before the overhaul happened. And in the scene, Matt and Frank are talking about the corrupt Punisher worshipping cops who killed White Tiger. Spoilers, by the way. It's also worth noting that in the original show, Foggy's death didn't happen the way it does here.
Yeah, so I guess they did this because in the original, before they canceled everything, apparently, I think the original idea was they would have Foggy and Karen killed off screen. And automatically, it would have been terrible because, like everyone knows who watched the original Netflix series, what made this series so good is the supporting cast. Foggy, Nelson, Officer Mahoney, Ellison, the newspaper guy. They made this series what it is, and that's why people love it so much. I mean, yeah, it was good to show this, but at the same time, it's still an incredibly stupid way to start off a series.
Again, spoilers. Originally, he was killed 4 years ago rather than 1, and it was actually at the hands of a corrupt cop, which is why it makes sense for Frank to bring up Foggy's death when talking about corrupt cops, whereas in the actual show it feels like a total non sequitur, and the context of the point he's trying to make to Matt doesn't make any sense given what actually happens in Foggy's death scene, which, trust me, we're going to talk about soon. Something that makes this all the more apparent is the fact that the only time Frank actually mentions Bullseye by name is while he's off screen, and it's clearly ADR. You can tell by the difference in sound quality. Like, seriously, just give this a listen. I haven't edited it at all.
So what now? Every day Bullseye goes to the chow hall, eats his slop. You know he gets to breathe the same air that you breathe.
Or how about the scene where Fisk has just learned Daredevil is back in action after over a year, and the way he talks about their past interactions is strangely, like, unpersonal. Like, he talks about how he built up this big criminal empire that Daredevil spent years working to tear down, beating up his guys and breaking their bones. You know, he talks about him as someone who frustrated his operations and was a general nuisance, and not as someone who has personally threatened him and his wife, even sending an assassin to their wedding, and who's good friends with the person who killed his closest confidant. Basically, any...
And that's another thing that got me upset about this, is like, when they came in to fire everyone, I thought they were just gonna, alright, everyone's gone, we're going to rewrite everything. We're going to start from scratch. And I feel like that is the issue on why this show was just not good. Because they used the stuff that was filmed. They just, added some dark elements to it to make it, to give it that same gritty feeling that the Netflix series had, and it just did not work. The scene with Frank and Punisher at that in that room in the basement, it was fine. I feel like Punisher's dialogue in that was really good. But still, I feel like they just wasted. I feel like they kind of wasted his character in this series because you only see his character from that episode. I think that was like episode 3 or episode 2, and then the next time you see him was like literally at the last episode of the season.
Scene with Vanessa, since originally she was recast with a different actress, which actually, by the way, that's another great example of my larger point about the canon here. Otherwise, from what I can tell, those episodes were written and filmed with the understanding that they were untethered by the continuity of what came before in the story of Matt Murdock, and you can fucking tell. Now, with all that in mind, I'd like to start this review off by going over the cold open of the first episode. I don't want to go through the whole show chronologically, but I think dissecting this absolute train wreck of a sequence is going to help us all understand just what we're dealing with here. These first 15 minutes really set the stage for the entire show, and they are quite a thing to behold. The show hits the ground floundering with Bullseye killing Foggy, so let's lay the groundwork for that. Our trio are at Josie's bar celebrating the retirement of their good friend Cherry, who's gonna...
Mind you, there's another issue that I have with this series. They're trying to push these characters on us like we're supposed to care about these characters. Like, we never seen these characters before. And this is what gets me upset. Why can't they use... Like, most of the characters that they introduced in this, they're replacements for characters that we already know from the Netflix series. And that's what gets me upset. Like, this is supposed to be Officer Mahoney. Why the hell are you replacing Officer Mahoney? His character was really good. Like, who is this clown? And this guy was insufferable in the entire series. Him and there's another chick that they're gonna show. But this guy was freaking insufferable.
Going to be a main cast member on this show, so I expect we'll learn all about him in Season 2. When Foggy gets a call from a panicked client of his named Benny. Benny is a guy who was involved in a case Foggy's working on associated with a place called Red Hook, a port that Fisk and Vanessa have an interest in, as we find out later. And due to threats Benny has been receiving as a result of that, Foggy decided to stash him to keep him safe. Now, where did he stash him? In his apartment, because apparently he doesn't have access to a safe house, despite apparently being friends with a cop who does, as we see later. I guess Foggy didn't feel the need to put Benny somewhere that was more secure, though, because evidently he didn't take the threats all that seriously for some reason. From what the show tells us, he doesn't seem to know Red Hook is associated with the Fisks, or that the case he's working is part of anything larger than a simple truck robbery.
I had no idea what he stumbled into. He just thought it was a truck robbery.
So I guess he just wasn't all that worried about it. But not only did he not stash Benny somewhere safer, he also didn't tell Matt and Karen about the threats because, well...
Maybe I didn't want to give you an excuse.
Yeah. The writing in this is just... This is literally, like, the best way I can describe this show is, imagine your average MCU movie, but it's just rated R. That's literally what it is. That's literally what this show is.
Interesting. We're about a decade into Matt's tenure as Daredevil, and I could have sworn part of Foggy's arc in the original show was coming to accept that while he cares about Matt and wants him to be safe, his vigilante activity is necessary and ultimately a good thing. But I guess we're regressing him back to viewing it as an addiction for Matt, one which he doesn't want to enable. Okay. In any case, Benny is correct that there's someone in the building, and since I've already said it a few times, yeah, it's Bullseye. And he makes a little Daredevil 2003 reference for some reason. He also takes the time to fix a hanging light bulb, because remember, he's OCD. It's not like that was entirely a facade he put on to keep his life orderly for the sake of not going off the rails and murdering people or anything. But I'm gonna put it, might be wondering why he's doing any of this right now. I mean, he gets done interrogating Benny, and then Benny tells Foggy over the phone that Bullseye was looking for him. He's here specifically to kill Foggy, and that doesn't make very much sense when you remember the context of the original show. He doesn't have any personal beef with the guy. They only actually interacted like twice across the whole series. Once when Foggy punched him during the bulletin attack, and once when he was called into the FBI office to represent Seema Nadim. I'm not saying Bullseye wouldn't kill Foggy if he felt he was in his way. In fact, he did try to kill him during the bulletin attack, but only because he was sent there to kill everyone present. Foggy was just one of everyone. But I don't see any reason why he would go out of his way to target him specifically. Other reasons I heard for why he might be doing this is that he wanted to hurt Daredevil, who I guess he just knows is Matt Murdock now. The show isn't entirely clear about that, but
they didn't really specify if he knew I feel like maybe he does, but at the same time, they didn't really specify it. Um, but yeah, that whole opening scene in general, it was just it was just nonsensical in my opinion. And the cinematography, it was just fucking terrible. The CGI of having Daredevil swing on buildings, it was just so bad. Like we've seen him literally swing, no CGI, back in season 2 on Netflix. Like I don't know why they just CGI'd everything in this show.
I'm inclined to lean more toward that he doesn't. And besides, that wouldn't matter anyway, because Bullseye doesn't have beef with Daredevil either. Yeah, they fought a few times, but only because he was working for Fisk. The same reason why he went after Karen at the church, so I don't see any reason why he'd go after either of them of his own accord, right? The most I can do in favor of the idea that he hates Daredevil is that Daredevil stopped him from killing Vanessa in the finale, but that's not enough for him to go and do all this, is it? I mean, I don't think so. But speaking of, let's remind ourselves why exactly Bullseye wanted to kill Vanessa. There was this girl he was obsessed with named Julie, who he looked to as kind of a moral compass because his therapist told him he needed a North Star to help him.
Yeah, I remember this arc back in season 3. Pretty interesting arc for the character.
Navigate everyday life. She figured he was too psychopathic to understand the difference between right and wrong, and that he needed to model his whole life off of someone that he knows is deemed by society to be a good person. That goes back to the organization thing I mentioned a second ago. It's not that Dex personally cares about keeping everything neat and tidy, it's that he needs to keep up appearances, and keeping an organized routine and living space will keep him from going off the deep end because it provides him a rigid structure. Just like Julie provides him a rigid structure. Once all that goes away, he stops giving a shit about any of that stuff. Fisk has Julie to become Fisk's puppet, but then Matt tells him what Kingpin did, and naturally he decides he's gonna kill him. But first, as payback for taking the woman he loves, he wants to do the same by crashing his wedding and killing Vanessa. That should be Dex's primary motivation upon getting out of prison, which, by the way, him getting out is its own other can of worms we haven't even opened yet. He should want to kill Vanessa to hurt Fisk, and then go after Fisk. You are, of course, allowed to have characters change somewhat during long time gaps, so if something has happened in the interim that's caused him to change his motivation, then fine, but the show never tells us what that is, and in fact strongly implies that no real developments have happened in his life since we last saw him. And then episodes 8 and 9 finally gave us an answer to all these questions. Apparently Matt never did any investigating on his end to find out why Bullseye did what he did.
Which made no fucking sense. If the season focused on that, where he's like trying to investigate like why he killed Foggy, trying to figure out who hired him, then it could have been a decent season. About the character, I'm saying that about the writers, whoever wrote that in.
Because he just naturally assumed he was settling some old scores.
You have to accept that Poindexter was just trying to settle an old score with Foggy and Karen and you.
Which does
the insufferable cop.
Doesn't make sense for all the reasons we just went over, but the truth of the matter is that he was hired by Vanessa, the woman that he wants dead more than anyone else in the world.
And this makes no sense too. Like, he tried to kill her. I don't know why she's like willing to like work with him. Like canonically, it makes no sense. Like when you look at the canon of what we saw so far, it just makes no sense. Like this dude tried to kill her. Like I can't remember how many attempts he tried to while Daredevil was trying to stop him and Kingpin in that room.
Remember this scene?
What does Agent Nadeem know about your business? And is he determined to find ways to hurt you? To hurt us?
Yes.
Don't you think it would be safer to remove the threat? If Agent Poindexter is useful, perhaps he can help us with this problem.
Remember how Vanessa spent 2 years overseas and separated from the man she loved, and how she was determined to never allow anyone to ever threaten their union again? You know, I'm just spitballing here, but I think maybe it's a little nuts to hire the one person who presents a serious threat to you when you could just hire any other competent assassin.
You are the very best at this type of thing.
The people who wrote these episodes, I highly doubt they watched all the Netflix series. I'm just gonna be completely honest. Like, people who infiltrate certain entertainment, they literally just come in just so they can make a name for themselves. They don't care about the source material. They don't care about the fans. They just care that they're a part of this universe. They can write in it, make a name for themselves, so they can, get the next gig. And watching this series, it's highly evident that the people who wrote this did not watch the original Netflix series. The most they did is they probably watched like either YouTube clips, um, maybe read some cliff notes on certain episodes, certain scripts, but highly doubt they sat down and watched all 39 episodes of the original Netflix series. Because you can tell when someone is a fan of something if they're working on it compared to people who, I wouldn't say they're not fans, they're just naive, like they just haven't done the research, but um, they're just working on the property.
Okay, yes, but he's also a danger to you and your criminal operation. Why not just hire a Black Widow or something? I think if fucking Kate Bishop's mom can do it, then Vanessa can, right? My point is, there are other players out there. And that's a related point, actually. Eleanor Bishop hired Yelena to kill Hawkeye through Valentina, and that reminds me, Dex got his spine broken at the end of Season 3 and was rendered paralyzed from the waist down. Then, as basically a post-credit scene teasing Season 4, they showed us that he was being given some sort of a...
This was supposed to be, I believe it was supposed to be adamantium, but during the time they couldn't use it because it was a licensing issue between Fox, I believe, because Fox owns Wolverine.
And I don't imagine Dex ever had that kind of money. I always assumed whoever was paying for it was someone like Valentina, or like an Amanda Waller type who's willing to work with less than scrupulous individuals for the greater good. Regardless of who you go with, I imagine whoever got him that surgery recognized his skill and wanted to use him for something. But apparently not, because in this scene he's in some kind of loony bin. They fixed up his spine and then threw him away to spend the rest of his life as some drug-addled mental patient until Vanessa came along. I don't know, maybe they'll explain that in Season 2. Anyway, the reason Vanessa wants Foggy dead is that the case he's working on involving Benny was going to indirectly expose some of her Red Hook operations, and she doesn't want that. She actually orders him to kill Foggy and Benny, which is interesting because of the way the scene actually plays out. Remember, he attacked Benny at Foggy's apartment and interrogated him for Foggy's location, and then he left Benny alive and teleported all the way to the building across the street from Josie's to gun him down. He somehow did all this without running into Matt, by the way, who was on his way to Foggy's apartment from the same location. But I guess that actually makes sense, since apparently Matt took the time to switch into his Daredevil costume before going to rescue Benny. Remember in the original show how Matt would often go into situations without his suit when it called for it because lives...
Oh, those scenes were so good, man. Like when he would just go into alleys, climbing up fire escapes to just get across buildings. Like I remember that one scene when he was chasing one of the heroin transporters, the blind ones in the car. He was just listening to the music from the car radio, and he just like parkouring across rooftops. Like that was an amazing scene, man. So many amazing sequences from the original Netflix series, man. Like and this Disney Plus swap, they just CGI everything.
Were in danger and there just wasn't time to go home and get it. Hell, even Defenders got that right. But yeah, he leaves Benny, one of the only two targets that he was actually hired to kill, alive. And then after killing Foggy, he teleports down to the street for some reason to kill a bunch of random strangers that are in no way involved in any of this. It also seems like he intends to kill Karen, but I'm still not entirely sure why he couldn't have just done that from the rooftop like with Foggy. And again, I have to question why, since he doesn't have any beef with her. He only tried to kill her in Season 3 because he was working for Fisk. I'm not saying he'd want her alive, but if anything, you'd actually expect him to be quite pleased with Karen, since the reason Fisk wants her dead so badly is that she killed someone he genuinely cares about a lot. The only explanation I can come up with for this is that he figured making it look like a random mass shooting will make it look less likely that Foggy was a specific target, but honestly it just reads more like the writers wanted Bullseye and Daredevil to fight in Josie's bar, and this was the only way they could think to make that happen. I mean, I don't know why they couldn't have just had the fight take place on the rooftop where he was positioned to snipe Foggy, since Matt wasn't even that far away when he turned back toward Josie's, but whatever. It's just funny to me that he was hired to kill 2 people, forgot to kill one of them, and then went and murdered like 10 other unrelated victims. The very best at this type of thing, isn't that what you said, Vanessa? Also, if Benny was still alive, why wouldn't Matt have taken up his case in respect to his dead friend? Or if he was too grief-stricken to do so himself, why wouldn't he then pass it along to another lawyer he trusts to make sure that the last thing Foggy was trying to do in life got put to bed? Benny still being alive presents all sorts of plot problems, because he's a serious loose end to all this that would have given Matt all the information he needed to realize something sketchy was going on. But the show acts like he just stopped being an entity and that his case just stopped existing. Like, he wouldn't have been assigned another lawyer to represent him by the court. It also doesn't really make sense that the
Unless
files
they
in
say that
question
for
that
season
Foggy was
2.
going to submit
We'll see.
were just left sitting in a storage unit somewhere collecting dust, when the whole point behind this assassination is that Vanessa wants those documents to never see the light of day. Why would she not have sent someone to break in and destroy those files? Anyway, Daredevil and Bullseye fight, and it doesn't look very good. I'm not going to spend too much time on this,
Like,
because
bro,
it's really
like,
at
look at that CGI.
redundant, but Daredevil. Oh, and I don't want to be redundant. Getting in a storage.
Like this right here, like how does that even happen? Like, how do you swing towards him, you fall on the ground, but you still end up through the window? Like just looks how he swings, right? Swings, how do you do that? How do you do that? The angle of how they fell in just makes no sense. Especially how they came in.
Terribly shot. Everything from the fighting choreography, the directing, the cinematography, and
The
light.
fighting choreography in this show is one of the worst I've ever seen, especially for a series like Daredevil. I would go as far as to say Iron Fist, as bad as Iron Fist was, had better choreographed than this series.
Fighting just doesn't look good. This fight here has such a stale and unmoving camera dynamic, and it seems like they're trying to recreate the aesthetic of some of the one-shot fights the original show was notoriously good at, but it just doesn't have the sauce.
Yeah, nothing is going to compare to the first hallway fight
To tell
scene.
what's going on, and that's to a point where some of the fights are so choppily edited that there's like 2 cuts per second. It's awful, and I genuinely don't know how anyone can defend this if they're a fan of the Netflix series, which had easily some of the best fight scenes in any comic book media, and was always something to visually marvel at. The fight takes the pair up to the roof, where Matt handily beats Dex into exhaustion, and Dex makes his way over to the ledge for some reason. Matt is then overtaken with grief, and in his anguish, he does this.
Very I mean, I heard this happens in one of the old comics, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Very uncharacteristic of him. That's just my personal opinion.
Kills Bullseye. Or, sorry, wait a minute. No, actually, he...
Oh yeah, he didn't die because of apparently his spine. So the new spine he has, but yeah.
doesn't kill Bullseye. That's some massive plot armor. Oh, but he had enhanced spine. Yeah, and I'm sure that did him a lot.
Sense, but he landed face.
That his spine is apparently reinforced by something called cognium steel.
Cognium steel reinforcing framework can't replace pulverized vertebrae.
But whether or not that's yet another super enhanced metal to add to the mess of a canon that is this universe, neither that show nor this one ever established what it is or whether or not it gives him any kind of enhancements. And you guys know I don't accept third-party material like the comics. So obviously this plot armor is stacked on top of a contrivance because him surviving is going to facilitate many things down the line. But the much larger issue with this moment is, of course, the breaking of the no-kill rule. This is going to be a doozy. I've heard people defend this the same way they defend all sorts of bad writing. You know, he was overcome with grief, his best friend had just died, people do irrational things when they're emotional. And every time this kind of thing happens, I have to remind people that being overwhelmed by big emotions and behaving in less than rational ways does not equate to doing things that are fundamentally against someone's nature. And I would argue killing someone is exactly that for Matt. The way Matt's no-kill rule works on a practical level doesn't mean that killing is completely and totally out of the question, just so we're clear. He did intentionally kill Nobu during their first fight in Season 1 when he realized there was no other choice in the matter, but that was out of self-defense. He was being absolutely shredded, and he was overmatched. There was no way he was getting out of there alive, and he did what he had to do. But that doesn't break the rule, because the rule itself is founded on his Catholic belief in the sanctity of all life.
Still can't believe he was fighting while on fire. He didn't even stop with like one hit. He did like a hit and then like he was trying to do like a combo.
And that includes his own. As Father Lantom put it brilliantly,
In each of us there is a world webbing out, reaching others. We rush to say one life gone, but each of us is a world. And today, a world has been lost.
With every life lost, that snuffs out an entire world. An entire world of connections to other people, and it prevents them from the chance of ever finding redemption for their sins. But Matt understands the value in what he does, and that if he dies, there's nothing he can do to stop people like Fisk, like Nobu, from snuffing out those other worlds. The Nobu example in Season 1, and a later example in Season 3 where Matt helps Nadim aim for targets during an ambush that they're caught in the middle of, and even then, he has him aim for non-lethal areas to minimize the casualties as much as possible, are the only times Matt ever makes the conscious choice to take a life. Any other time someone dies on his watch, it's either because he failed to save them and or prevent them from being killed by his allies. Or in some cases, it's just plain bad writing, where they try to kind of hand-wave it like he didn't just do that and it doesn't really matter. Look, see? He's fine. He got back up. Matt knew he would do that. When this episode came out, a lot of people pointed to this line during a Season 2 exchange between Matt and Frank. They said this moment where he tried to kill Bullseye was the payoff to that setup, proving to me that some people watch shows without really understanding the deeper subtext behind the...
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was, I feel like it was a good callback from what Punisher said. I felt that scene with him and Punisher on the roof, some of the best television. But still, like, especially for this scenario, especially like I said, like during the time, there was no context to why, he killed them, what was going on behind the scenes. So at the same time, yeah, it just didn't make sense. It was because of the lack of context.
The way characters are developed. Matt's entire arc in Season 3 fundamentally proves that Frank was wrong here. Matt simply doesn't have it in him to murder someone in cold blood, no matter what their sin or his emotional state. That even when he's at his absolute lowest point, that's just not a line he can cross, whether he wants to or not. I mean, you have to remember, in this absolutely amazing moment at the end of Season 3, Matt didn't know yet that Agent Nadim had facilitated a way to bring Fisk down through legal channels. We're gonna get back to that later, by the way. But Matt didn't know about it. He thought that Fisk was basically all-powerful, that nothing he could do would ever keep him down for longer than a couple years in prison, and that even then he'd find some way to position himself in a place of power. Despite all his principles, despite how much he valued human life and the prospect of redemption, Matt believed the only way Fisk could be defeated was to kill him, and if that destroyed his soul in the process, he was willing to pay that price. And even then, in the decisive moment, with his hand on Fisk's head and no one there to stop him, he just can't do it. And yeah, he makes the deal and he tells Fisk to go back to prison, but Matt knows that's a tentative solution at best, and only so long as all parties involved actually uphold their ends of it, which we're gonna get to. The deal was only part of the solution. It was a compromise. But without Nadim's testimony, Fisk would have been able to keep doing what he was doing. And Matt didn't know that was a factor, so...
Because, like I said, the writing, even though the fight scenes are great in this series, I feel like the strongest thing about the series is the writing and the dialogue. It's just really well crafted. Like, the people behind this show, they truly care about this character, like, and they love the story of Daredevil, and like it just really shows, like, in the Netflix series, man. And Disney Plus, they just ruined everything great about the character. But I do want to stop it right there. I do want to continue this. Probably tomorrow. I'll probably do like a short live stream tomorrow. I do want to end the stream there. I think I streamed for like an hour and 30 minutes. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you guys for joining the stream. Really appreciate it. You follow my socials in the on my channel. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and appreciate you guys joining the stream. But yeah, see you guys in the next one, and have a good night.